This week, Kate and I set sail on an unforgettable 6-day Caribbean adventure. From island exploring to shipboard surprises, come along as we dive into breathtaking views, delicious meals, and unforgettable moments. Kate and I took our camper van to Port Canaveral cruise parking and left it there as the launch pad for our Caribbean adventure. There's something satisfying about pulling up in your own home on wheels and knowing it's there for you when you return.
There it is, the Caribbean Princess. It's our home for the next 6 days.
After winding our way through security and check-in, we finally made it onto the gangway. While we could have dropped off our luggage for delivery to our stateroom, Kate and I prefer to carry our own bags on board. There's no waiting around and no wondering when your bags will show up. Since this wasn't our first rodeo on the high seas, we had a game plan. Find a quiet corner in the dining room to sit down for lunch while we waited for the room to be ready. I ordered the salmon with lemon and dill sauce that came with seasonal vegetables. Kate ordered the grilled beef tenderloin with roasted potatoes. By 1 p.m., the announcement came that our staterooms were ready, so we made our way over to drop off our luggage and unpack.
Get my steps in.
Since we had booked this Caribbean cruise last minute, there were only interior staterooms left. This was our first time in an interior room, and we were both eager to try it out as the price is significantly less than a balcony stateroom. Besides not having a balcony and having a different orientation of the desk and bed inside, the rest of the stateroom was very similar.
One of the things we like about cruising with Princess is you can bring a select number of beverages on board. So Joe and I always like to pick up some sparkling water and put it in our stateroom fridge, and then we can enjoy it throughout the cruise.
One day, I hope to be elite members like Kate's parents, because when they show up in their room, they have a fully stocked minibar. So they have drinks, they have sodas and all of that stuff because they cruise so much. So one trick we learned is to bring magnets with you because all of the walls are steel. And what we do is we take things like our paddle and we'll just stick them up on the wall so we can have everything at a glance. And it's nice. Whoops. Kate's better at this than I am. But we just stick things on the wall. Kate does artwork down at Arts and Crafts and other things. So it's nice to have a pair of magnets. If you bring friends, you can actually take a magnet and leave notes and things for people on their doors.
Plus, some of the rooms, like ours, there's not much desk space, so helps clear it up.
Ta-da! With a 3:30 p.m. departure out of Port Canaveral, Kate and I headed up to the higher decks to check out the views and say goodbye to our camper parked at the cruise port. As the Caribbean Princess left the dock, we grabbed our binoculars to watch the launch of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket carrying Starlink satellites. It was also neat to see a few used rockets and the landing barge as we sailed away from the Space Coast. Kate celebrated the sail away with a vanilla and chocolate soft serve cone, and I enjoyed the view from the fitness center.
We got a workout in and time for dinner.
We usually spend our first day on the ship just getting acclimated, walking around, finding everything, checking stuff out, getting free bingo cards. It's a thing. And then we hit it hard the rest of the days. While we don't usually eat in a dining room on a cruise ship, we decided to go for it since the menu items sounded pretty good. The garlic prawns were delicious, and the rest of our meal was also pretty good. After our 3-course meal, we enjoyed live music in the piazza, followed by a really fun game show hosted by the entertainment crew on board. We capped off the night dancing with the live band. Well, so much for relaxing on the first night. The next morning, we enjoyed the view from the top deck with our morning coffee and tea. Since we were in an interior stateroom for this cruise, we discovered different outdoor areas around the ship. Fueling up with some coffee for our day in Nassau, Bahamas. Now this is a short port. We got here at 7. You can disembark starting at 8:30 in the morning, and then we all have to be back on board by 1:30. So it's just a short day. I think all we're gonna do today is just walk around and get a feel for the island, and if we really like it, we can always come back later. Although it turned out to be a windy day on the island, we still had fun exploring the town, including a quick look around the Pirates of Nassau Museum to learn about the history of pirates on the island. Once we finished doing our pirate impressions, we made our way to the remains of the stone quarry to climb the Queen's Staircase, which consisted of 66 steps up to Fort Fincastle. On our way back to the ship, we popped into a few gift shops to check out the souvenirs. The sun finally came out when we got back to port, and we took a break to enjoy the beautiful blue water of the Bahamas. The water was so clear, we watched the fish swimming by. One thing we looked forward to when returning to the ship after a warm day out were the chilled towels and cold water stations set up for guests.
Great morning exploring Nassau, and now it is time for lunch. We put in 10,000 steps already. I'm so proud.
The World Fresh Marketplace was where we typically went to have lunch, as there are just so many options, and we enjoyed a sampling of all the different flavors. This was just a small selection of the items that were available for lunch, and with the options rotating daily, we never knew what we'd find. The best part about lunch on this deck was being able to sit outside and enjoy it on a warm, sunny day in the Caribbean. After a wonderful lunch, I ended up going to the gym to watch the ship sail away while I worked out because there is an awesome view in there. Kate went to do arts and crafts. That is one of her favorite things to do on a ship. But tonight, we're doing something a little bit different that we've never done on a cruise before. And voila, we're ready for formal night. We've never gone to a formal night before, so I figured why not bust out the penguin suit and enjoy ourselves on this evening. So we made a reservation at one of the dining halls, and Kate and I are gonna go tear it up this evening. The first place we tore up was the dining room for the captain's dinner, which included a delicious lump crab cake and pan-fried red snapper. We had to skip dessert to make it to the piazza in time for the champagne waterfall with the captain, which was quite the colorful event. I finally understand formal night. I enjoyed myself. I did get dressed up. This is a lot to pack.
Well, we're light travelers.
Yes. But that being said, I am wiped out. It's past 11, so past our bedtimes. I'm gonna head to bed, so good night, y'all. Today is a sea day in between the Bahamas and Puerto Rico. And sea days happen to be our favorite days on cruise ships because there is so much to do, and they do bingo. Now, your first day on a Princess cruise, if you know where to go, you can get a free bingo card. And while we were walking around today, Kate found a ducky. So people will hide duckies throughout the ship. And if you can find one, that's great. If you can leave one, even better, which we've done. And then I think we'll just enjoy the ship today and all the different activities. And we plan to spend the day in Puerto Rico tomorrow. Although we did not win at bingo, it was still a fun experience and something different to enjoy on board. The rest of our day was packed with attending art auctions to see what folks were buying, learning about life at sea with the cruise director, and getting an inside look at what life was like below deck. One of our favorite activities that day was learning about sharks with shark diver Martin Graff. Thanks to his presentation, we are now both curious about diving with sharks. We were treated to a beautiful sunset dinner, something we always look forward to when cruising. Part of our love for sea days is not only the activities, but also relaxing around the ship. That night, we read by the pool while listening to music, then enjoyed a hot soak in the jacuzzi before calling it a night. All right, well, Kate and I managed to get a workout in this morning before we arrived in San Juan, and it was actually perfect timing because the gym is up at the front of the ship, so we got to see the port as we were coming in. It was absolutely gorgeous. Grabbed some breakfast, and now we're ready to go into town and experience San Juan for the first time. We've never been here before. My dad used to live here, and my mom and dad came here multiple times, and I believe that's where I may have been constructed, so to speak. So I'm very excited to see the island and see kind of the family history it has. Our ship docked right at Old San Juan, which was very convenient as there were several sites we wanted to check out in the area. This bronze statue titled Gato Giraffe, Cat Giraffe, immediately caught our attention, along with several cats we saw around town. As we walked through the streets of Old San Juan, we were struck by the vibrant colors surrounding us, from the blue cobblestones we walked on to the colorfully painted walls and intricate straw artwork. It all left a lasting impression on us.
I got a refreshing strawberry mango ice pop for this hot and humid day in San Juan.
There was something about the vibe, culture, and history of the area that really resonated with us. One of the highlights was exploring Castillo San Cristobal. It's definitely worth checking out for any military or history buffs. The views alone were worth the walk. After exploring the fortress, we popped inside a rum bar for a cold drink and some air conditioning. It turned out to be quite a gem, as the cocktails were artfully crafted using a cask-seasoned rum distilled in Barbados. So we just had some amazing rum cocktails. I had a rum old-fashioned, which was out of this world. Kate had a version of a pina colada. And then the bartender recommended his favorite restaurant in this area. So that's where we're headed for lunch. The restaurant was packed when we arrived, but it was only a short wait before we were sitting down for an incredible meal of fried whole snapper and mofongo. How was your lunch?
Lunch was amazing. I can't wait to come back. I think we're definitely going to plan at least a 5-day trip back to Puerto Rico.
We left Puerto Rico with plans to return for a longer trip so we can explore more of the island. With the busy port day, Kate and I were both ready for a relaxing evening on the ship. We enjoyed a magic show by Jason Bird, followed by some live jazz in the Wheelhouse Bar. The rest of our evening was spent hanging out on the outdoor deck, tracking the progress of our cruise on my watch, and enjoying the warm sea breeze over a cup of hot tea. Well, today's been a little interesting for me. We're not pulling into Grand Turk until about noon. I haven't been feeling that well today. The seas have been pretty rough and it just threw me off. I went to the gym today, and when I was working out, it was actually kind of interesting because as the ship would dip down, the weights would get a lot heavier, and then you get lighter as you're going up. But after the gym, man, it just hit me and I had to come sit down in the room, relax. Kate made me a cup of mint tea. I'm starting to feel better, and I think once we pull into port in a few minutes, I'll go grab lunch and hopefully settle myself. So it's the first time I've really felt that off on a ship before. I don't know what it is or why, but I'm feeling better. Oh, and Kate got me these bands that have little acupressure points, and they actually seem to be helping. So whether it's in my mind or it's actually a thing, I don't care. It's working. To our surprise, we were docked right next to the Sky Princess, the ship we took on our transatlantic crossing. We enjoyed that ship and itinerary so much we would love to go on another one. The plate of fresh papaya and latte from the coffee bar definitely helped me get back toward feeling 100%. Although specialty coffees were not included in our cruise fare, it was a fun treat, and the price was similar to coffee shops on land. Since we didn't have any shore excursions planned at Grand Turk, Kate and I enjoyed the views from the ship and waited for the initial wave of passengers to get off before heading out. With the long sandy beach next to the pier, we decided to have a relaxing day and go for a swim.
Is it just me or is that water pretty cold?
Water is pretty cold. It's not freezing, but it's not as warm as I thought it was going to be.
We eventually made it all the way into the water and enjoyed laying out for a while before packing up our things and going for a walk down the beach. We ended our walk at a highly recommended restaurant to have some jerk chicken and rice with a nice view. It turned out to be a fun beach day, and before we could get back on the ship, all the passengers who had bags were lined up for a quick canine search. As the Sky Princess departed Grand Turk, we got to hear the Love Boat theme song, which is only available on select ships in the Princess fleet. After watching the Sky Princess sail off into the sunset, we got dressed up for dinner and prepared ourselves for the rougher seas ahead as announced by the captain. Well, unfortunately, our cruise is coming to an end. This is our final night on the ship, and we get off tomorrow morning to head to the Tampa RV show. It has been a great cruise so far. The weather has been so-so, but it's been good enough. And I would say our favorite port of the trip has been Puerto Rico.
The thing I loved about Old San Juan is you get off the ship and you're there. It's a very walkable city, or area, I should say, and the people were super friendly, the food was amazing, the weather was perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better port day.
Now, one thing that we've never tried before is this interior room. The reason we got an interior room is because everything else on the ship was sold out. So when we found this cruise kind of last minute, this was the only type of room that was available. And to be honest with you, I've actually enjoyed it. It is very nice having a balcony. I would say if I was going to do a room on a ship, I would either do interior or balcony. On our last cruise, we did an obstructed view room, and I don't think it was worth the money. I'd rather just do an interior.
The obstructed ocean view room is right above all the main, like Explorer's Lounge, where the concerts are happening, the theater. So there's noise from below.
It's loud.
And while it is easily accessible, to your point, I didn't think the additional price over an interior room was worth the cost. I would rather just get an interior.
And I will say it's a little strange waking up and having no idea what time it is, but you know, once you get up and you get moving, just go up to one of the decks, go downstairs, sit by a window or something, enjoy the day outside of your cabin, come in here to rest, relax, and sleep. I mean, that's all we really do in the cabin anyway. I do love a balcony because there are times you don't feel like being around other people, so you can go sit on the balcony, assuming the weather is nice. Now, if the weather is not nice, you can just look out the window. But outside of that, I think interior is well worth the savings. Now, some of the tricks we've found is if you've cruised with Princess before, when you go on a ship, get the deposit. Put a deposit down for a future cruise. I think it's $100 per deposit. That deposit is fully refundable within a year if you don't use it, but if you do use it, you get onboard ship credit for doing that deposit. Also, if you have 100 shares of Carnival stock, you get an additional credit on the ship. So little things like that will help your money go a lot further when you get on board.
Princess also has onboard credits for veterans and people in the military. So there are all types of ways to get additional shipboard credit. You just have to know where to look.
Yeah, and we always book with Costco, and through Costco you get additional credits.
Plus, when we get to Port Canaveral at the end of the cruise, we'll get a Costco cash card that we can then use at Costco.
Which actually brings up an interesting point, because we didn't realize this before, but we found out on the cruise that Port Canaveral is actually a new port for Princess. We don't know if they used to ship out of Port Canaveral before, but they are doing so now. And we've been talking to a lot of people on the ship, and it's actually much more accessible for them rather than going down to Port Everglades, which is down by Fort Lauderdale.
Highlights of this cruise for me are, I found a rubber ducky, and this one is super cute, has a sailor hat on it. I only made it to one arts and crafts class, which is shocking because I love going to all of them. So I made some paper flowers. And today we started off the morning with an unexpected tour of the bridge.
And we were able to get the tour of the bridge just by asking. So they do a morning coffee with the captain, and we were down there talking to a couple of the officers and just asked about it. And they said they weren't sure if they were going to do a tour or not. If so, they'd put our name down on a list. And we noticed there was probably about 20 people on the tour with us, and then they were doing another tour afterwards. So what we were told was the only reason they were able to do it today is because the seas were nice and calm this morning. And that meant they were allowing people to come up onto the bridge, and it was a fun half-hour tour.
So Joe and I have absolutely fallen in love with cruising, and we would love to get your recommendations on places that we should check out.
We woke up to a cool, crisp morning in Florida with beautiful views of the sun rising over Port Canaveral. Since we opted to carry our own luggage off the ship, it was an easy process to walk off. As we disembarked, the crew was busy loading supplies for the next voyage. The best part about parking at the cruise port was walking right back to our camper and not having to worry about waiting on a transfer or shuttle. Well worth the $17 per day for a short cruise. We're all packed up and ready to head on to our next adventure at the RV Super Show in Tampa. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time. Bye.